You used to say yes to invitations. You used to fill your weekends with conversations, family gatherings, and community. But now, you find yourself pulling back, choosing quiet, letting messages go unanswered, and wondering, am I becoming antisocial? Is something wrong with me? No, dear friend, you're not fading, you're refining. You're not broken, you're becoming clear. In this video, we'll explore 6 psychological reasons why so many of us start to avoid people more as we age, and why that's not only normal, but often necessary for peace, growth, and deeper joy. Reason number 1, emotional clarity. You no longer tolerate surface level interactions. There comes a moment in life, often quietly, sometimes after a loss, an illness, or simply a birthday that feels different, when you realize something's changed inside you. You're no longer interested in small talk. You no longer feel the need to keep up appearances. You find yourself walking away from conversations that feel hollow. This isn't you becoming rude. This isn't a sign that something is wrong. It's actually a sign that something is right. You've gained something rare and powerful: emotional clarity. When we're younger, we often feel the pressure to be social, to go along with shallow chatter, to nod politely, to listen to gossip we don't care for, to laugh when we don't feel joy, and smile when we'd rather rest. We do it to belong, to stay connected, to be seen as polite, friendly, normal. But as you age, something within you shifts. You no longer have the same energy for performance, for pretending. You start to value truth over tradition. You no longer say, I'm fine, when you're not. You no longer ask, how are you, when you don't truly want to know. You begin to speak less, but mean more. Older adults often report feeling more comfortable in smaller social circles. Why? Because they no longer seek quantity, they crave quality. It's not that you don't care about people, you care more deeply than ever. But now, your emotional compass points only toward what feels real, mutual, and nourishing. You'd rather sit in stillness with someone who sees your soul than exchange 100 words with someone who doesn't. This is emotional clarity. This is maturity. And it's perfectly natural. In your youth, silence may have felt awkward. Now, silence feels sacred. You've discovered that not every space needs to be filled with words, that being present is often more powerful than being vocal, that true connection often lives between the lines, not within them. This shift in preference from chatter to calm, from superficial to soulful, isn't isolation, it's elevation. Every conversation, every social outing, every call takes something from you: time, attention, energy, emotion. You've learned to ask the quiet but powerful question: is this interaction feeding me or draining me? And when the answer is draining, you've learned it's okay to walk away, gently, respectfully, but clearly. You're not avoiding people, you're avoiding disconnection disguised as connection. So the next time you hesitate before attending that noisy gathering or decline a conversation that feels forced, remember this: you are not less social, you are more selective. And that selectiveness is not a flaw, it's a form of self respect. Emotional clarity is a gift of aging, and choosing depth over distraction is not loneliness, it's liberation. Reason number 2, mental energy conservation. Socializing becomes emotionally expensive. In your younger years, being social felt easy. You could attend a full day of work, chat over dinner, catch up with friends, and still have energy left to spare. But now, even one long phone call can leave you feeling mentally drained. Even a short lunch with a group can feel like it takes more out of you than it gives. You're not being dramatic. You're not becoming cold. You're simply learning that your energy is no longer unlimited, and you're starting to guard it with the care it deserves. This is not selfishness, it's wisdom. As we age, our mental energy shifts. We begin to tire more quickly from stimulation, especially the kind that involves processing conversations, reading social cues, and switching between topics. The brain, like the body, needs more recovery time. Noise becomes more distracting, multitasking becomes more exhausting, group conversations become harder to follow, and the effort to appear engaged can feel like a performance balas. All of this takes energy: emotional, mental, even physical. And eventually, you start to realize, I need to be more careful about where I spend my energy. When you were younger, it was easy to push through. Now, you ask yourself, consciously or not, will this leave me feeling full or empty? Will I need the rest of the day to recover from this lunch? Am I smiling because I want to, or because I'm expected to? These aren't cynical thoughts, they are signs of mental maturity. You've lived long enough to know that not every social interaction is worth the toll it takes on your spirit. You've learned that your peace has a price tag, and you're no longer giving it away freely. You value calm over conversation. You might prefer one on one chats over group gatherings. You might find joy in a quiet walk rather than a crowded event. You might cancel plans, not because you don't care, but because your mind simply needs stillness. This doesn't mean you're withdrawing from life. It means you're finally listening to your inner rhythm, not society's expectations. You're not avoiding connection. You're avoiding overstimulation. You've spent decades giving your attention freely to family, to work, to social obligations. Now you realize your attention is precious, and protecting it is an act of self-respect. You've learned to say, "Not today. I'd rather rest. I need quiet." And you've stopped apologizing for it. That's not withdrawal. That's emotional and cognitive recalibration. So the next time you find yourself turning down an invitation or skipping a group event to sit with a book or a cup of tea, remember this: you're not losing your spark. You're choosing where your light shines. Mental energy is not endless, and with age comes the beautiful right to spend it wisely on what truly matters. Reason number three: selective prioritization. You know what and who truly matters. There's a beautiful shift that happens with age. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's quiet, like a curtain being pulled back inside the heart. And suddenly you begin to see it clearly. I don't want to spend my time with just anyone anymore. I don't want to say yes out of habit or guilt. I only have so much energy, and I want to give it to what's real. This is not bitterness. This is not ego. This is selective prioritization, and it's one of the most empowering gifts of growing older. In your 20s or 30s, 20s or 30s, an afternoon could be wasted without a second thought. An entire weekend could vanish in errands, noise, or people who didn't value you. But now, every hour feels more precious. You don't want to just fill your calendar. You want to fill your soul. You begin to ask, does this person lift me up or leave me tired? Do I feel safe, seen, and heard here? Is this obligation still necessary or just something I've always done? And when the answer doesn't feel right, you give yourself permission to step back. Selective prioritization doesn't mean you don't love people. It means you've stopped loving from a place of duty and started loving from a place of truth. You no longer feel the need to keep up appearances, entertain draining relationships, please people who never ask how you are. Instead, you focus on the grandchild who sits and listens, the friend who still remembers your birthday, the neighbor who brings warmth, not got gossip. You begin to edit your circle, not out of malice, but mindfulness. This process can feel uncomfortable at first. You may think, I should call more. I should show up even if I don't want to. They'll be disappointed if I don't go. But then you realize you're not the same person you once were. Your time, health, and emotional bandwidth have changed. And choosing peace over pressure is an act of courage, not selfishness. You let go of should and embrace what truly matters now. You're not pushing people away. You're pulling yourself closer, closer to peace, closer to real joy, closer to people who nourish, not deplete you. This shift is not about isolation. It's about intention. You're not reducing your world, you're refining it. As we age, we stop asking how many people are in my life and we begin asking who truly cares for me and who do I feel safe being fully myself with. That question doesn't shrink your life, it deepens it. So, if you've been choosing fewer invitations, shorter conversations, deeper moments, know this: you're not withdrawing, you're prioritizing with love. Reason number four: past pain and wisdom. You've been hurt before. Now you're careful. There's a quiet story behind every older heart: stories of trust that was broken, friendships that faded, family ties that frayed, moments when love turned into silence or kindness was met with indifference. And over time, these moments don't make you bitter, but they do make you careful. This isn't fear, it's wisdom. You've walked through enough emotional storms to know which skies are safe to stand under and which ones to quietly walk away from. You've learned what wounds feel like. You remember the phone call that never came, the words that hurt more than they should have, the friend who disappeared when you needed them most, the family member who only shows up when they need something, never to give. These aren't stories you hold on to in anger. They've simply become part of your awareness. You've learned that not everyone deserves the softest parts of you, and you've learned to recognize the patterns that used to hurt you and step back before they do again. In your younger years, you might have forgiven too quickly, stayed in one sided friendships too long, tried harder to keep the peace, even when it meant losing your own. But now, you've learned that not every relationship is meant to be forever. And some distance isn't cruel, it's necessary. You don't chase after people who walk away. You don't explain yourself over and over to those who never truly listened. You simply retreat gently into spaces where you feel safe, respected, and at ease. Um, that's not being closed off. That's healing in action. With age comes the understanding that some people thrive on drama, some relationships revolve around guilt, not love, some conversations leave you feeling worse, not better. And now you ask a quiet but powerful question. Does this feel like peace, or does it feel like the past trying to repeat itself? And when the answer isn't peace, you step back, not out of resentment, but self preservation. There are people you've let go of with love in your heart, not because you stopped caring, but because the relationship no longer honored your growth, your boundaries, or your truth. And that is one of the most sacred decisions a person can make. Letting go doesn't mean you've hardened, it means you've softened toward yourself. So if you've found yourself avoiding certain people, ignoring a message that doesn't feel right, walking away from someone who once mattered, know this: you're not building walls, you're building wisdom. Your past pain didn't break you, it shaped you into someone who chooses with care, speaks with caution, and loves with quiet strength. And that, dear one, is not something to apologize for. That's something to honor. Reason number 5, time feels more precious. You guard it like gold. There's something sacred that begins to happen when you get older. The clock ticks the same, but the hours feel different, heavier, lighter, slower, more valuable. You begin to realize, I no longer have time to waste on noise, on negativity, on things that don't fill me. This awareness isn't rooted in fear, it's rooted in wisdom. You're not becoming antisocial. You're simply choosing to protect your most priceless possession, your time. In earlier chapters of life, time felt infinite. You gave it away freely, to work, to people, to problems that were never yours to solve. But now, you understand that your hours are finite, and your energy is not renewable at the same pace it once was. So you've learned to ask, do I truly want to do this? Will this give me joy or just drain me? If this were my last year, would I say yes? And when the answer is no, you give yourself permission to decline gracefully. You prefer meaning over momentum. Not every moment needs to be filled. Not every afternoon needs to be scheduled. Not every day needs to be busy. You begin to savor the slowness of life, the kind that younger people rush past. A quiet walk in the morning, sitting with a book in your lap as the light changes in the room, listening to the birds, drinking your tea while it's still hot. These small, unproductive moments are no longer background noise. They are the very things that make your time feel rich. It's not that you don't want to connect with others. It's that now you want your time to be filled with peaceful conversations, not draining chatter, real connection, not obligation, spaces that welcome you, not demand from you. So you go where you're invited as you are, not where you must perform or pretend. And if that means seeing fewer people, so be it. What matters now is that you feel safe, heard, and respected. When you were younger, being alone might have felt like isolation. Now it feels like freedom. You spend your time with people who matter. And when you're alone, you fill your minutes with things that nourish you: prayer, reflection, music from the past, watching the wind move through the trees, or simply silence. Time alone doesn't mean emptiness, it means presence. So the next time you choose to stay home instead of going out, or let the phone ring while you sit in stillness, or say no thank you to yet another gathering, know this: you're not being distant, you're being deliberate. Your time is now your treasure, and you've earned the right to spend it slowly, sweetly, and on your own terms. Reason number 6, inner fulfillment. You don't need as much external validation. There was a time when being seen meant everything. You wanted to be heard, understood, recognized, invited, included. And it made sense, because in earlier seasons of life, your sense of self was still forming. You looked outward to feel worthy. You looked to others to confirm you mattered. But now, something has shifted. You no longer seek applause. You no longer chase approval because you found something steadier, quieter, and far more beautiful: inner fulfillment. In your youth, you may have worked hard to be enough, to show your value through your job, your family role, your productivity. You wanted people to notice you, maybe even admire you. But as the years pass, you begin to ask, why am I still trying to impress anyone? Who gets to define my worth but me? What am I trying to prove, and to whom? And eventually, you come to a liberating conclusion. I am enough without an audience. In earlier years, being alone could feel empty, even scary. You might have filled your days with people, noise, or activity to avoid the discomfort of silence. But now, you find richness in stillness. You find joy in your own company. You feel peace sitting by yourself, not because no one invited you, but because you chose it. You no longer feel the need to announce your life to be living it. You don't need every thought heard, every step seen, every feeling validated. You've become your own witness. And that's enough. You begin to replace "what do others think of me" with "how do I feel about myself?" Do they notice my effort with "did I do that with love?" Will they thank me with "was it the right thing to do?" This inner compass begins to guide you, and you realize that quiet joy is far more sustainable than loud praise. You're no longer interested in impressing. You're interested in expressing, gently, honestly, without ego. You may still enjoy companionship. You may still cherish connection, but you no longer fear being unseen because you see yourself. And you no longer fear being misunderstood because you understand yourself. So if you've been spending more time alone, turning down invitations, or feeling less drawn to share every moment online, know this: you're not fading into invisibility. You're blossoming into self-containment. You've discovered a rare kind of peace, the kind that doesn't need applause to feel alive. And in that peace, you've found the truth so many chase but never reach. You are already whole, with or without the crowd. If you found yourself pulling away more, choosing quiet over company, peace over pressure, know this: you are not broken. You are simply becoming more honest with yourself. With age comes clarity, and with clarity comes the right to choose who you let in, what you give your time to, and how you protect your heart. You're not avoiding people. You're choosing truth over noise, depth over distraction, and yourself over expectations. And that is not only normal, it's a sign of growth. If this message resonated with you, please like this video. It helps others find this gentle reminder too. Subscribe to True Senior Wisdom for weekly healing reflections. Share in the comments. Which of these 6 reasons spoke to you the most? Your voice matters here, and someone reading your words may feel less alone today. Until next time, stay gentle, stay grounded, and stay true to the rhythm of your own heart. You've earned that right.